part of the DVD something you learned from Jeff Hamilton. What was that?
I think it was the up-tempo. It was that up-tempo.
Oh, same thing. Okay, great. You also did a thing at Fast Tempo, so I asked you out in the hall, which was, you know, very unique to what you do. Instead of the hand being like that, it was sort of palm down. What did
That's again, I did mention that earlier. It's just, it helps, it gives you a bit of a thicker sound.
Because the weight of your hand is over the brush.
Yeah, the weight of your hand is over.
Is it easier to control it at Fast Tempo?
For me it is.
For you,
Yeah, for me it is, yeah.
The other thing that the kids should learn, we talking about the long sound of the sweep. And then, of course, there's the short sound of the sweep. I call it the zig.
Well, but I'm right-handed, so I mean,
You know,
Hold on, can you say that again?
yeah.
no,
The
that's
short, the long.
Hey guys, we need to, go ahead, say that again.
The long, you know, we talked about the long sound of brushes, and we also talked about doing it in time. But now there's another sound that you want to get on the brush, which is the zit, the short sound. Because that's how you're going to get some rhythm other than the sweep.
And
You know,
accent.
you're gonna mix the zit in with the sweep. So you say, you get that. So you want to practice for a kid that wants to, get this brush technique together. You want to practice getting the short sound. I call it a zit, but it's just like just a short sweep as opposed to the long sweep. Because it's two different. It's not necessarily two different techniques, but it's two different sounds that you're gonna need. You know, the swish is gonna be more like the long sound, which may not necessarily have to be that rhythmic.
Right.
But the zits are going to be rhythmic because that's how you're going to get the rhythmic sound. It's like when you play with sticks, you get the balance, you get a rhythmic sound stick as opposed to a roll.
Right.
So with brush, you want to get the little zit
You
sound.
need to get the
because
balanced
that's
approach.
That's a more of a rhythm. That's how you get more of a rhythmic thing going with the brushes. You know.
In general, if a kid was really focusing on his brush technique, should he put many hours into, just like we assume drummers do with their stick technique?
I think that practicing should be how long you want to practice. This is because this is my own personal thing. Everybody, all you guys probably got a whole different practice. But I think that practicing in general, not only with the brush and with the stick, is how long you want to practice. If you force yourself to practice, I don't necessarily think that that's as beneficial as opposed to practicing as long as you feel like practicing.
Billy, what do you do with your students? You have a lot of students. What's your approach for brush technique? Do you make them, they have to finish this before they come next week and move forward? How do you approach it?
I don't. But just like he said, all I can say is that if you want to learn how to do it, you have to practice it.
But for students, you must say, this week we're doing this, next week we're doing that, or?
Well, you
free
can,
form?
but I mean, there's so many things to teach. Brushes is just one small part of it.
But when you're teaching the brushes, do you go from A to B week to week, or?
I can do that. It depends on, at that point, there's a bunch of different books, but I like the Philly Joe book. And that has designs. It has
Really? Wow.
Yeah. When you talked about it, I thought you had seen the book.
I've seen a reference. I've
So
seen the book.
when he says zit, he has a thing that's like a straight line, and it's like a zit, and it's a straight line. And then when he has a swish, he has a circle. So I guess that's one.
Is that book easy to find?
No.
No,
No.
it's out of print.
It's too bad that we weren't doing
These guys are
Yeah.
so maybe
Well, books are
bringing it out again.
That would be a perfect DVD to go with that book.
And
It's
another
too bad that they
thing,
couldn't do it.
when I used to practice,
Technology.
I practiced with different records with different tempos. So this way, rather than just sitting and looking at a book or hearing a metropole, I'd hear the band and I'd sit down and take the brushes and play behind these records.
What records did you
different
practice
tempos. With different tempos. Whoever I liked at the time, each drummer was different. So I'd have one of his records, we had them 45s in those days, I'd play them, and I'd practice like that. This way, I'm practicing different tempos with each song. So I'm singing the song while I'm practicing.
Right.
For me, I did Nat Cole Trio records.
Oh, yeah, he had
I
some
used to
wonderful-
play with those
yeah.
records
So they
because
didn't have drums.
no drums,
No
and
drums,
it's
right.
great time, great feel.
Right.
The original
He had the
Ahmad
conga, he had the
trio.
conga drums.
Well,
on
on
top.
some of them, but some of them just was
Just
no
with
drums.
trio, yeah.
And,
trio
and,
was
and
all-
I used to practice with those records, and I'd practice with them at night when you couldn't be playing on the drums. And I even mentioned it in the DVD, in the little addendum of things that you could do, you know.
Well,
Well, you know, practicing too on telephone book,
Yeah, or record jacket, something that has a certain
newspaper, you
cardboard
know,
box,
and
whatever.
this way you get sounds too.
Newspaper.
Yeah, newspaper.
Right.
Newspaper
That's a
gives
good
you a
one.
sound.
When some clubs you go to, they have a thing
The film
set just so you could play. You have brushes and a can,
The surf
and a
band
couple
used
of
to have
places,
that.
and it's the other place in the village.
West
And they got
Point.
the brushes and this can top,
Yeah.
and just for drummers they want to come in and sit in.
Yeah.
Steve, what are you gonna say?
Yeah, when they buy the DVD, there's a CD that comes along with it, with all the tracks that everyone played to.
Oh, that's great.
And so and more, there's 17 tracks, all different tempos, all the different feels.
Wow.
So they
Huh.
have an instant
Oh, that's
play
great.
along
Right.
CD that comes with the package.
That's
So
great.
that's a great place to start.
There's a diagram, and this has a diagram in
There's
there?
Adam's diagrams or PDF files that they can see on their computer. and print
Yeah,
out.
that's good.
So there's a
Amazing
great
visual
starting
stuff.
point
Wow.
to start to practice.
So this is an initial thing to get people, give them something to start with and to develop. That's the whole thing.
And you were wondering about like fitting in practice time. A great way to, let's say the guy practices 2-3 hours and he beats his brains out in his practice room. And then sun goes down, it's kind of relax, chill out. You don't need to beat your brains out anymore. You can just, relax and play nice and soft and practice
Not
the
wake
brushes.
up anybody.
Later, right?
Yeah.
And without, you don't even need the practice room. You can just play on the tabletop or
Right,
a newspaper,
right.
whatever, and relax,
Find a record jacket that has like a rough surface, don't use an impulse glossy record, that's like playing on a glove, on a clear head. I used to use Led Zeppelin too, I used to use Crosby, Stills and Nash.
That's a bumps.
They had a rough surface, I used to play brushes on those
I
things.
know that record.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna go somewhere else. It's like, why even use the brushes? I mean, in this day and age, there's a lot of times when I just want to use the brushes just because I want to use them. In other words, like there's some songs where I want to start with the brushes and switch to sticks, right?
Mhm.
Or start with sticks and switch to brushes. I just want to play. I just hear the brushes at certain times in certain pieces, just on my own. I just want to do that.
Sure.
But sometimes I do that on bass solo. Put the
Right,
sticks
bring it
down
down. Yeah,
and
right.
brush the bass solo.
Right. Eddie talked about one great record, Lester Young, Nat Cole, and Buddy Rich on Verve. What are some other great records for brush play? I think of Tommy Flanagan Overseas with Elvin, that's like my favorite probably. What are
That's
some
a
other great
great
ones?
Yeah.
I'm a Jamal trio.
With
Oh, yeah.
Brunel.
It's called, what's it, Live at the Persian.
Yeah, but
Okay.
not for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But not for me.
What's some other ones? What's everybody must have favorites?
Live at the Pershing, live at the,
That's what a good one with Red Garland with Specs Wright. He was a great
Right.
player.
That's I heard that one. That's great.
That's
too.
really talking about
That's
that?
great.
I don't know the
Is that the
title.
one live at the Prelude?
No, they listen to Prestige.
I was listening to Red Garland
It is
this morning.
Prestige.
Red Garland with
Specs,
me.
Specs, Specs
Yeah,
Wright.
yeah.
What's the name of that? What's the name of that record? Do you
The
remember?
bridge.
I don't even remember the
Remember
name
what
of
year?
it. Yeah, I
And that record you made with
but I do remember
Sonny Stick,
recording.
then you played Prestige on that one. Remember that? That's what Sonny Brown and Sonny Stick.
Yeah,
That's a
great
great
record.
record.
That's
That's one of the
great
greatest
record.
records, man. Ray Bryant
Sunny
was
side
on.
up, sunny side of the street. with
Yeah.
Sid.
Sunny Side Up.
And then Ray Bryant was on piano.
And
That was a
Tony.
great record. That's one of the great
Yeah.
records.
Another one that would be good, would be, George Shearing,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Denzel Best.
Nothing but the best.
Nothing but the best. Okay, great.
That's a
Okay,
great
and then
record.
there's a Joe Jones.
The Everest one.
Yeah, the Joe
That
Jones
was great.
trio.
that-
Right, yeah.
With Ray and Tommy.
Yeah,
And another thing you hear on that that's a beautiful sound is he plays with his hand.
Right.
Just like you,
He would do that a lot, on the floor, Tom.
I did a
You
couple
don't wanna
of
play soft.
a couple of records.
But you know, okay,
myself.
for certain
gotta
things,
keep up.
certain things, Elvin wasn't my favorite brush player, but those records that he made, the ballad, Coltrane ballad, and the one with Johnny Harper, he definitely had his own style of play that I loved. And I loved that.
Mel played wonderful brushes.
Right.
Shelly Mann played some great brushes. Klug, I mean, the records like Miles with Hershey and Klug. man.
Luke was really
Incredible.
Oh my God, this is
Yeah.
You know,
But he was just an incredible drummer.
Oh yeah, he took over for me from Max, because when I heard
He was an
him,
incredible drummer.
I said, let me go listen to Klug some more, because I used to sit like
I learned a lot.
Max.
I read his book. That's one of the greatest books about music. That book.
Posse,
Did you ever read that? I didn't know he played the trombone. And all.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, I can't even ask
You know what his real name was?
It says in that book, but I forgot. Yeah,
Kenneth Spearman.
yeah.
And Shadow Wilson.
Damn, Shadow Wilson.
Russell Wilson, that was my man.
Yeah, Shadow Wilson, boy.
Me too. Yes,
I
sir.
worked with Woody Herman, man. Woody Herman took the book.
Adam, you must have a couple favorites.
This play like Shadow. Yeah,
That's
you know
right.
this music. You don't need this music.
He's talking about he was my big influence to play big band.
Yeah.
Another,
Another thing
Oh, he sure
He
did.
swing the band.
That's right.
Steve, go ahead.
another part of this package is that there's a booklet that comes with it. And it's something like 34 pages, or, you can find out, written by Mark
You
Griffin.
sent me that, yeah.
And in that, there's a whole history of the brushes.
Right.
And then there's a very detailed listening guide. So it's beyond a listening list. It's like it tells you, it names a lot of the great brush records, and even like points, listen for this, listen for that. So this is all part of the package. So it gives you, really gets somebody's foot in the door
Okay.
of what to listen for.
Right, that shirt.
I love that
I was
t-shirt.
at some festival.
That's one of the best characters I've
Yeah, they got a name on
of
the back.
drums playing.
Yeah, they got your name is probably on the back.
All those people played.
Yeah.
But that,
Oh, they got all
That is a
the
nice,
but
good
that
picture.
picture, the character,
Yeah.
because it's correct, the way he's holding the six.
I-
Yeah,
This might have been-
that's what I noticed too.
This might have been from Savannah.
So there's an
I'm not
Everest
sure.
Papa Joe Jones
Yeah, I have that record. That's a
And
great.
then it's the Papa Joe Jones trio too, Jonathan Joe Jones trio.
Yeah.
You probably on there too. A bunch of them.
And just to mention the younger one, that Gregory Hutchinson.
I found me on
like
there.
too. Just to mention the younger
Which one is that?
The Lush Life with Joe Henderson.
Oh, right.
Where he
Crush Life,
where he
yeah.
plays, where he plays just duo with the brush.
That boy that played in Winton, Herman Riley, I saw him play some brushes.
But he made it play with a mod.
That's because he was on.
Well, we've been trying to find
They're all
out.
from New Orleans, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Check it out.
yeah.
All of our drummers
Yeah.
were out of New Orleans.
We trying to figure whether we related, because his name is spelled the same way as my name, and 13 Rileys left Georgia, and a lot of them went to New Orleans. So we may be related, we cousins somewhere down
Some
there.
reason, he seems like a nicer gentleman. He's not a hound dog.
Okay, guys.